Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm in Tennessee, and there's an aspect of this trip, a pretty big aspect that I haven't mentioned to you guys yet, and that's I'm really trying to find a place to settle down, to really be for a while, So a big part of this has been looking for a place where I feel like I could stay for a while. And this is something that, like when we have a Kundalini awakening, it's not almost, we're stripped bare. We're totally in this vulnerable place for a while where everything we once relied on kind of just dissolves. Like maybe it's a job we used to work, as it was in my case, and it's just like with the Kundalini raging, that was gone. Like I couldn't even take care of myself for months. It just wiped me out, the whole process. So a big part of my process has been I had to move home. I had to move home with my parents right away. And basically just, for a few months there, I was like barely even getting out of bed. I was so weakened. I was in and out of states of mild psychosis. I was just a wreck, wrecked with panic attacks every day and not having any idea what was happening to me. Going to all these doctors and having all these CAT scans and MRIs, going to neurologists, just having all this energy waking up in me, but having, was not a spiritual person. I was a seeker. I was a curious person. I would read every single book. Not necessarily really spiritually oriented, but I was always looking for something more. I was always like, this can't be it. What society was telling me, I was like, this just can't be it. There's got to be more. But when my Kundalini awakened, I did not believe in Kundalini or even really God in a sense. Like I was more agnostic at the time. I used to be very, very closed-minded and atheist. And then I think when the Kundalini awakened, I was more in this agnostic place with God and my relationship to the non-physical. I was becoming really interested in physics and energy, and frequency and things of that nature. But as far as like an energy waking up within me, an evolutionary energy waking up within me and essentially taking over my life, like it was too much for my mind to conceive. It was too big for my mind. My mind did not have the capacity to submit to something greater than itself. I really believe that the mind was the greatest, was the biggest thing, the most powerful thing. And so it was a really, really difficult few months where my mind was just fighting it, where I thought I was my mind. I thought I was the one, that the Kundalini was, it felt like a very attacking force, to be just very honest, to me. Initially, I didn't have any bliss. Maybe I had like one day of it. Yeah, one day of it where it was nice. But then after, it was just ruthless and relentless. And I thought I had the worst anxiety known to man. I didn't even know what the fuck it was. No one did. No one in Western medicine did. And I had no connections beyond that. I didn't know who to reach out to, because the word Kundalini terrified me. It scared me. I refused to believe that something like this could be happening to me. But not to go too deep into my story. I've written it everywhere. I've talked about it a lot. But a big part of my Kundalini journey is I had to go home and get support. And then, I did that for a few months, and then I was finally able to hold a job. Once the mind submitted and kind of just relaxed into the experience, once the mind finally surrendered, I should say. Once the unconscious aspects of me were able to surrender, I could work a job. So I was able to save up a good amount of money. I lived at home for another 5 or 6 months. And then I left home again. I was ready to go on my own, I thought. And And I tried that for a while, but I still needed support. I still needed help. I was still in a really heavy part of the Kundalini awakening, to where it was still like a very, it's a beautifully destructive force. It like really takes things from us that we don't need, that don't serve us, that aren't in our highest alignment. And it was still doing that to me. It was still really a painful and difficult process. So I tried to go on my own, but I just couldn't. So I moved in with a really good friend of mine. And she was like a best friend, kind of, I wouldn't say caretaker, because I was able to take care of myself, but it was like someone just to be there around, like that I could talk to, that I could process things with. And she didn't, like, who could fully understand Kundalini if you don't experience it, right? But she was such a great listener, and she could just listen with such depth, that just finding someone who can listen to you with depth and is like you can feel really heard by is so healing for working through your early Kundalini process, especially early on, because that's when so much is happening that you just can't even understand. Like, it just to hear yourself say it out loud, and for someone else to receive all of that and to actually hear you and to believe you, even though they maybe can't fully grasp it, because it's just so much, right? It's so beyond what the mind is able to really conceive unless you've been through it. But so, yeah, I lived with her for, I think, about 6 months, and that was in Portland. And that was when God was really, I kept trying to go back to all my old jobs, to the sales job, to playing poker. I kept kind of resisting doing what I'm doing now, basically being a spiritual guide. Well, I mean, I didn't even know like what a spiritual guide really was at that time. I had never shot YouTube videos. I was terrified of putting myself out there in any way. I always had known there was a writer in here somewhere, but I always would get writer's block. So I was resisting going or embracing my creative gifts and sharing myself in a vulnerable way. And I kept just trying to cling to these old jobs because I just wanted the safety and the security of the money, which is totally normal and fine. But I just remember in Portland, like only being able to hold jobs for like 3 days, if even that, sometimes a day. And the energy just so powerfully communicating to me, no, this isn't it. This isn't your path. And that was really hard because I was running out of money. And I didn't know what else to do because that's all I had ever done my whole life. And that's when I had my first session with Craig Holiday. And he really asked me what my relationship with God was like. And I was telling him my situation. And he asked me, well, what do you love? What do you really love? And I told him I love when I have a really deep connection with someone, a real conversation. When I'm able, at that time I was able to, I feel like help people close to me because of all the insights and the knowledge that start coming to you when your Kundalini awakens. And I just loved sharing that with people. I loved sharing just advice, guidance with them, having authentic and real conversations with them about like what their experience was with life. And that's when he said, it sounds like you enjoy maybe becoming a therapist, and that's or something along those lines, or a psychologist, just something like that. And for me at the time, I was like, well, that's a bunch of school, and I know this is long-winded. This is just me telling you, for any of you new to the channel that haven't heard my story, I guess that's what this video is going to be. And so I started looking at that and being like, okay, I guess that's the path. I didn't know I'd be a spiritual guide as soon as I was. it's just 2 days after that, he asked me what my relationship with God was like. And he really spoke to me about what it means to be a conduit for God to speak through you as you, for the Kundalini to speak through you as you. And I just remember being kind of at my breaking point with like, okay, I can't work these jobs anymore. I'm running out of money. Like, whatever you want, God, whatever you want is basically what I was saying to the universe, to the Divine Mother. That's like, I'm yours. I'm your servant. Just put me to work. I need to be moving in this direction, because it's like, I was like, I'm running out of money here. Like, I'm running out of options. And then 2 days later, 2 days after my first session with Craig Holiday, and after uttering those prayers and opening myself to the divine in that way, just really bowing down before the divine and being like, hey, I'm yours. 2 days later, that's when Kundalini Diaries started. That's when I created the website. And then shortly after that, I shot my first video. And then shortly after that, I ran completely out of money. And my parents had just bought this amazing place on the prairie in Montana. And with this place came like this studio that was like 50 yards from the main house. It was on the same property, but it was like its own little thing. And I just felt so divinely guided to go there, to really put in the roots of the business I have now. And so I did that. I moved back home, essentially. But it was nice because I had my own space, and it's so you can feel the silence out there. The spaciousness, it's so vast. It's a beautiful place to connect to all that you really are. There's like no distractions. There's nothing impeding that at all. And so it was just such a intuitively guided move to go back home. And I still, like I said, I had no money. I still needed support. I wasn't able to work any other jobs for whatever reason. That's just my path. I know a lot of people with Kundalini awakenings, they're able to still go back to those same type of jobs, of course, in a completely transformed way with their relationship with the job. But for me, it just wasn't an option. The energy just wouldn't allow it to happen. And so that was coming up on 2 years ago that happened, that I moved back home. And for those 2 years, I've been growing the channel. I went through another dark night. All kinds of stuff. I've traveled, I don't even know how many times. I did a road trip to Arizona, up to Montana. I went back to Portland one time. I went to Europe, I'm sure I've covered all this. And then I went to Mexico twice. I went on another huge road trip. Like, there's been all these times where, and every single one of those trips, I kind of felt like maybe this is the time I really do, I leave home. Maybe I'm ready now, because there's been this part of me that has wanted to regain full independence since Kundalini awakened, that, I really haven't been able to. And so each time I left, there was this part of me that said, hey, maybe I'll never come back. Maybe this is the time. Maybe I'm ready to be on my own. Maybe I'm ready to take care of myself fully. And each time it was just like, I was always so guided, nope, time to go back home. It was always so humbling too. It's like, it's not on your timeline, this is on God's timeline when you're ready to really be independent, to be on your own with this business. And that was always a real humbling thing for the ego. Especially, I don't know if it's, as you get older, there's something in you that, you want to be independent. You want to stand on your own 2 feet, so to speak. And at first, it's just not possible, and it's just something you have to accept. But as you start getting healthier, as the Kundalini starts integrating more, it's like that desire, you could say, wakes up more and more within you. We're like, okay, I do have the power now. I do have the health. I do have the rootedness to do this on my own now. And this last time, the last time I came home on a road trip from Sedona, it was really a painful one, where I was just like, dang, it really kind of felt like a failure. Like, that road trip, I really was trying to make it on my own, and then the car broke down, and one thing after another, and it's just like, gosh, I just had to come home again, you know? And I remember being in my room in the studio, just feeling utterly powerless. Like, what the fuck, you know? Like, here I am at home again, and I just was getting a little down on myself. And I was resisting being there. I wanted so bad to just be on my own, you know? Just anywhere. But yet I was here I was at home, the car broke down, ran out of money again. I was just like, geez. And I remember, I think I watched like a feel-good video, and he said something about, it's just a reminder I needed, like, basically, if you're somewhere you don't want to be, a job, in a relationship, a place, first it's like, it's just that reminder of it, fully accept it. Because when you're resisting where you are, like I was, it just lowers your vibration. And when you're in resistance, like the energy, or like the insights and stuff, the shift you need to get out of it, in a sense, it just doesn't come to you because you're in resistance. So obviously there's something you still need to learn there. There's something you're still healing in your field, you could say, in your energy body. And so I heard that message, and I just surrendered in that moment, like, I'm home again. I wasn't able to make it when I left for Europe. I wasn't able to make it when I left for Cancun. I wasn't able to make it when I left for this last road trip on the West Coast. I'm back again. And I just felt like, as disappointing as this is, I just need to accept it and surrender to it. And I did. I just surrendered. And then all of a sudden, like, it was real quick. Like, once that surrender really set in, I just found myself cleaning the studio deeply. I found myself going through old writing and organizing it for future blog posts. I think I might have even shot a YouTube video that day. And then I all of a sudden, I felt inspired to start reading some old Calm Down Mind blog posts that I had printed out and stapled and saved. And I think I came across them because I was going through old papers, my old writings, old things I had printed out for inspiration. And there was this article talking about wholeness, and how wholeness requires embracing your dark side. And if you're feeling powerless, which I was, it's an indication, it's a reflection that you're not embracing your power, you're not embracing your darkness. And guys, it's like I had a second awakening when I read that. All of a sudden, it was just like something, it's like that power up thing, you know, like, it's like it literally happened in my spine. It just went, like something, I'm getting goosebumps right now talking about it. It was like a dormant energy woke up within me, something that I had been suppressing without even knowing, something that I had been unconsciously resisting in myself, my own darkness, woke up, like that power woke up. And that's when I knew. I was like, oh, that's what I was missing. All these times I had tried to leave home, I left home without my dark side, without my power, without half of myself. And so that's why life was just so thoroughly beating me up each time I left. It's because life was giving me that reflection, like, hey, you know, you're suppressing your power. You're cutting yourself off from your darkness. You need your darkness. You know, it's yin and yang, light and dark. You need both here in this realm to have a balanced experience of reality. And so, wow, I had that realization, and then I had all these videos that I wanted to channel through. I had all these really extremely powerful sessions with clients, and then all of a sudden my bank account was just, it had way more money, and not only that, it wasn't really even that, it was just like, oh, I'm connected to my power now. It was like that second awakening of recognizing how valuable darkness is, and recognizing how much I was unconsciously refusing to acknowledge it, how much I was like clinging to the light and just like draining myself, and like my light had no shine. It wasn't really illuminating because it didn't have the complement of the darkness. Like, it's like that darkness helps the light to shine brighter. And the light helps the darkness, not just, it helps it to be balanced as well. It's like they both just work so beautifully. When you're in wholeness, it's this feeling of just completeness, and nothing's missing. And I was always clinging to the light and feeling like something was missing. And I was always really looking out here like something's missing. Maybe it's, I need a relationship. Maybe I need this. Maybe it's it was always, I always had this feeling that something was missing. And I think the previous times I tried to leave home, it was that feeling of lack. It was that feeling of powerlessness. And that's hard to regain your independence, to be on your own 2 feet when you're in that vibration of lack, when you're clinging to the light, when you're not in your power, when you're not owning your darkness, when you're not balanced. And so, yeah, it was really frustrating there for a while, but it led to that recognition, to that realization, to that it really felt like a second awakening. Like, whoa. It's like I lived so powerless. I lived in such a state of powerlessness and just feeling helpless and hopeless for so long that like I kind of had to cling to the light for a while, because now it's like in my body what that feels like. It's in my body. So anytime I start going into an imbalance that way again, it's like, oh, what am I, where's my darkness? Where's my power? Where I need to embrace something here of the darker nature within myself. It's like in my body now that I can't forget, and that's why it's so powerful to have experiences of being imbalanced, especially if you can get really imbalanced. You're going to have that feeling in your body of what that's like, that discomfort, that dis-ease, that feeling of meekness, of being kind of a doormat, of life kind of beating you up, of feeling like a victim. You're going to have that in your bones. So when you have the realization of like, there's like darkness here that I've been suppressing, and you let it up, that shift, you're going to feel that shift, and it's going to be so powerful. And when you step into your power, it's just going to be something you never forget. And you're going to realize, this power is always here. This sense of safety, this sense of, I'm a powerful being. It's okay to be big. That sense, it's like in you, because you've lived in balance for so long. So when you have that realization, it's just like I said, it's just like something. It was like, it was on a physical, it was on a mental, it was on a spiritual, it was on an emotional, it was on all levels. This shift that happened, and it was like 2 weeks ago. It was very recent. And it's amazing when you have that shift, how quickly your external reality starts shifting to match that. And that's exactly what happened and is happening now. And so, yeah, that's what this journey is about, guys. It's about finally reclaiming my independence. And I knew even with the shift, even with this, reconnection to my power, to my dark side, to being in a state of wholeness and balance, it's still not easy. It's not supposed to be easy, because there's still so many, it's like there's still the patterns of codependency, of neediness, of victim mentality. They're still there. There's still those fear-based patterns, but they're just being met with more of this, unconditional love is wholeness. So now on this road trip, instead of letting those come up and kind of dominate my consciousness and being fully identified with them, like on this road trip, on this endeavor to really try to be on my own, when those come up, they're like, yeah, they're welcomed up. Like, yeah, I want to feel this. I want this to come up and to be integrated. This is what the whole point of this road trip is. And being on your own is. The whole point of it is for all of those more needy, codependent energies. You could almost say like childlike energies, right? That, look around. There's a lot of children in adult bodies, right? That didn't grow out of these energies. That didn't release these energies. That didn't actually become an adult balanced in their light and their dark. So yeah, it's like letting a lot of that stuff come up in me, like that. And it's like this road trip for me is basically a rebirthing process. It's like to take this full circle. So Kundalini for me, I had to move home. I needed the support of others. Um, and it was like kind of going back into the womb, kind of going back into like a childlike place for a while where I really did need help. And now it's like I'm being reborn again. It's like I'm able now. I've integrated. This energy's been integrated enough. I've stepped into my power enough. I'm in a balanced state of wholeness enough now to where there's this rebirthing process that's happening. It's like I'm leaving the womb again. I'm leaving the support again. I'm stepping back into an independent life again for the first time genuinely since Kundalini awakened 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago. And it took that shift that happened about 2 weeks ago for this to be possible. Before, I was trying to do it a little prematurely because I was disconnected from my power, my dark side, and so I just kind of kept getting the shit beat out of me every time I would try to leave the womb, and then I have to come back and reset and like, okay, what happened that time? And that happened several times. But each time I learned something very valuable, and I was humbled even more, and so looking back, they weren't failures. They were just, they were very helpful for this time. For this time where I know there's like there's just a different energy, a different quality to this experience that says, like, it doesn't matter. We're doing whatever it takes this time. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't even care. I'll go sell shoes, And I don't feel that will happen. I feel very, very connected to like this work and dedicating myself to this work. The work of meditation, the work of writing, the work of shooting videos, the work of being with clients. And part of this work is like eating healthy, fasting, being in nature, and just giving my life to this work. And and just knowing that this work supports you, When you give your life to God, God supports you. But God also asks that you're strong, that you have strength, that you're balanced and integrated, that you're in your power. And these were things like I wasn't the first few times I tried to be independent while giving my life to God. It's almost like I wasn't showing up for my half, I was like, God will just do it all. And in a sense, God does, but, we need to show up. And for this teaching, it's all about, we also need to show up, and we need to show up for life. It's like life always shows up. God always shows up. And this time I just feel like I'm showing up and meeting God halfway much more than the last few times. And so, yeah, this is a long video, and that's okay. That is okay. It's really beautiful here in Tennessee. It's so interesting how I kept driving here. I think I'll save that for another video. This is a nice video, like a recap of my story, what it's like to go through Kundalini and to go through that helpless stage, but then come back to, becoming independent and what that kind of looks like. And that's just kind of a raw account of it. Thank you so much for the donations. If anyone's still watching, I really appreciate your donations, guys. I know the name, I'm going to get it wrong, but Rain, maybe I'll try to post your channel, Ray Sung something. I'm sorry, but thank you for your donation today. And thank you everyone else for donating. If you would like to support this journey and me, reclaiming my independence and going on my own, I will put a donation link in the description. You could also book a session with me. I love sessions so much with you all. Those are a beautiful way to support me as well. So A donation link and a session link will be in the description if you're interested in working with me or supporting me. Otherwise, thank you so much for still being here 30 minutes in. I hope that this video has helped you in some way. It's just really nice to connect with you and be here with you all. And I love you very much. Namaste.